Okay, well, we're back from our executive session, and we're going to reopen the meeting. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move to reopen the meeting.
Second.
Mr. Seabrook?
Aye.
Ms. Worthington?
Aye.
And I vote aye. So the resolution has been adopted to reopen the meeting. So the next case we're going to hear tonight is the Breezy Hill Group, BI LLC, and it's located at 1792 Middle Road, Calverton. Do we have anybody to speak?
Yes, sir. Stephen Lo Squadro on behalf of the Breezy Hill Group. Good evening.
Good evening.
Mr. Barnes, members of the board, this application involves a request for an interpretation by this board based on the submission of a site plan by the Breezy Hill Group to the planning board. The site plan was reviewed by staff. I should note that the site plan, which was prepared by Nelson and Pope, which is the applicant's engineers, complied fully with the Industrial A zoning district portion of the code, as this property, the subject parcel located at 1792 Middle Road in Calverton, is in fact zoned Industrial A. And it's an approximate 6.5 acre site. More specifically, I believe it's 6.6 acres. All of it's zoned Industrial A. I would note parenthetically that it's located in an area where the town has seen fit to allow the development and, over time, of very intense industrial uses. And in fact, there are industrial uses that are much more intense than those proposed on this site that are located on the immediate adjacent parcel, in other words, the adjoining parcel, as well as the parcel that's directly across the street. And you will find references to that in photographs in Exhibits 2 and 3 to the packet that I've provided each of you that's made part of the record here tonight, showing that, of course, that the use, in addition to complying with the Industrial A section of the code, as we'll get to in a minute, also conforms completely to the nature and character of the general area and, of course, the very immediate surrounding area. Turning to the heart of the issue, beyond, of course, the nature and character and what conforms to the surrounding parcels and the surrounding uses, is the fact that the site plan, which was submitted, as I said, prepared by Nelson and Pope, conforming to all aspects of the Industrial A code, not seeking any variances for setbacks or anything else of the sort, calls for concrete crushing to be permitted. And what transpired is that there was a conversation and meetings that specifically were held with the town zoning officer. And the town attorney was invited, as were others. And the town zoning officer took the position that the use as requested and as set forth in the site plan did not, in his opinion, allow itself to be placed in this plan and used on the parcel as per the Industrial A section of the town code. We respectfully disagreed and continue to disagree, and submitted the very extensive briefing that was dated October 24th of 2017 to the town attorney, and that was submitted as well with the application first made to this board, and it is also submitted here tonight, part of the record, as Exhibit 1, which accompanies Exhibits 2 and 3 as part of the packet that each of you have before you. Essentially, the Industrial A section of the code, which is quite specific and rather unambiguous in its reading and its interpretation, allows for 54 uses that the town board, in its wisdom when the code was drafted, specifically are designated as prohibited uses in an Industrial A zone on a parcel that is zoned industrial A, as is the subject parcel. All other industrial uses not specifically listed and prohibited are in fact then permitted. The code is remarkably unambiguous in how it was drafted. The board made that quite clear. It was enacted and it's been in effect for some time. The code has the 54 uses. It does not prohibit the concrete crushing. I think, quite frankly, that is because it would not be a use that would be prohibited, and in fact, knowing that this is an industrial area where the parcel is located, and knowing that those type of uses, and in fact uses that are even more intense, are going on in that area, it was probably logical that the town board would not have prohibited such a use, because they know that such uses are better clumped, if you will, or located in particular areas and not widespread throughout the town. That, of course, goes into the realm of my conjecture or my speculation about why the town board would have made that decision to not prohibit it. But that is almost irrelevant in the sense that the town board, in fact, did not prohibit the use, and since it's not prohibited, it is in fact permitted. We've endeavored to make that position very clear, and we've submitted what we had to the zoning officer and then to the town attorney. We appreciate the opportunity to expand on that and set forth the legal principles behind our position and to present the materials that we did tonight. Before I close, I would add one thing. Although it has not come up, and although the site plan has conformed, as I said, with all requirements of the Industrial A Code, I would, on behalf of the applicant, the owners of the property, offer the following, and that is, we know that in the spirit of being good neighbors, and also looking to shield certain uses, which I think you can see, by the way, from the adjoining parcels, is not done. In other words, those uses are very open to the public and to those who drive by, and they may cause noise and perhaps other impacts because they're not screened or buffered or bermed or any combination thereof. My client has authorized me to let you know that in the spirit of moving forward in the best manner possible, they would like to offer up those measures if in fact the board sees fit to impose such measures. I think personally it's always a good gesture and it's appropriate, and my client has said that they would proceed on that basis, so I wanted that made part of the record as well. Other than that, I have nothing else to add, but I would be happy to take any questions that you may have.
I have a couple,
Yes, sir.
unless you want to go first.
Up to you, sir, you're the applicant.
You go first.
Okay. On our agenda, Mr. LaSquadro, it says that it's a proposed construction and demolition debris processing facility. You're saying it's a concrete crushing facility.
That's correct.
And so all of these items, this construction debris will be sorted off-site, and only concrete will be brought to this site?
Yes, that's what we've made clear.
Right, okay.
I wanted to ask you, did you represent them when they closed on the lot?
I did.
You did, okay. So, did the subdivision issue ever come up, like how did that lot become subdivided from the other parcels?
It did not.
It did not come up, nor did it come up in a title search or?
Well, I mean,
I'm just curious because when you do a subdivision of that nature, whether it's minor or major, there's typically covenants that are filed. I just was wondering if any came up.
No, there was nothing remarkable that came up in the process, which is one of the reasons that the applicant was comfortable in moving ahead, because in essence, they were pursuing an as-of-right use. And the property is zoned industrial A. That it's not something that they took subject to or went into the contract or any transaction seeking something and then only closing after there was a grant of some nature.
So I should assume that they made an application to the town, to the building inspector, for these two uses?
Yes, sir.
On this particular site?
Specifically, it was in August that the planning board application was submitted,
So so you filed a planning board application?
Well, for a site plan application.
Okay,
Yes, it was a site plan application, and then what happened was after, we realized that it was not being processed, perhaps as expediently as we might thought or normally expect, I reached out to the planning department and then was told that there was an interpretation issue that involved the town zoning officer. And then that's when
I'm trying to follow the
that's when the
logic
back
of
and
the
forth,
application.
that's when the back and forth came with the explanation of how we reasonably believe Industrial A reads, how in fact we think anybody would be compelled to see how it reads, and the town attorney was part of that process, and the town attorney was kind enough to suggest that we submit the document that we submitted back on October 24th.
October, okay. So there was some land clearing there without any kind of land clearing permits, and
That is
there
correct.
were stop work orders issued?
That is correct. I will say this, there were 2 or 3 aspects of that caused that, I think, to be a little more exacerbated than it should have been. One was that the stop work order that was initially issued, was issued to the prior owner and sent to the prior owner who lives in Rocky Point.
Oh, I can understand that, because you bought this in, what, February
Correct.
17?
So, my clients, and 2 of whom are here, and they own and have operated a very reputable company that's very well known in the industry for over 30 years. They've had a 360 permit with the DEC for over 30 years
At another location, I take it.
at another location.
And
And-
where are we with the DEC on this?
Well, where we are with the DEC is, matters with the DEC have been settled. What the DEC said to take off of the site was taken off. I can tell you that part of the reason that things went very well with the DEC, well, there's several fold, which I was in the middle of explaining. One is, of course, that the stop work order was sent to
Incorrectly.
an incorrect address. Number 2, something that I could have been involved in to help them handle maybe more efficiently, I could not, because it was during a period of time, which I know some of you know, my mother last summer was quite ill, and therefore I was not available to interact maybe as normally I would have. And the third is that the DEC is well aware that they have a very favorable 30-year history with my client, and knew that the materials were only placed temporarily because there was not space at their Westbury yard. But when that was confronted, all the materials were removed. And so the DEC matters are actually settled.
Okay. And was that a stipulation, or was that,
It was a
A fine
stipulation, and it
involved?
was also before the town justice court,
okay.
which was resolved
And
as
they
well.
were paid and fines
Yes,
were done?
sir.
Okay. So, okay, I get that part. All right, does anybody else have any questions regarding this facility? If not, that being the case, I'm going to suggest to the board that we leave this hearing open until March 22nd. May I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I move that appeal number 18-008 be adjourned to March 22nd.
Second.
Mr. Seabrook?
Aye.
Ms. Worthington?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Thank you
We're
very
going
much.
to move it to March 22nd. Thank you for coming in. Okay, and last but not least, we have on the agenda the appeal of Karen Stocker, which is Appeal 17-65, 2873 North Wading River Road, Wading River, New York. And you are?
Tracy Shaleski?
Have you been sworn in before
Yes.
or sworn in?
Yes.
No,
Yes.
okay, good. Shoot.
Okay, so I'm back here tonight on behalf of the owner, Jerry Stigler, and his son, who are also here tonight. We are here for an area variance for a non-conforming commercial use in a residential zone. The building has been there since 1929, according to the neighbors' research. My client traces its date back to 1925, and it has had a commercial use since 1930. The property has not been utilized in a commercial capacity in excess of 1 year, while the neighbors have stated the closure being in 2005 Department of Agriculture, which I gave you guys a copy of earlier. Has the date at 2008, with the last health department inspection being in 2010, confirming that it was closed. Mr. Stakler has a quote, which I also handed in to you guys, from a contractor stating that the cost to convert it back to, or actually just convert it to residential, will be approximately $286,400. This property was purchased as a mixed-use occupancy. It has had a deli for 88 years, about that. A loss of the commercial use, the astronomical cost to convert it to residential will cause a financial hardship for my client. The higher purchase price of the property was based upon its commercial use. It was never the owner's intention to discontinue or abandon the use, but a practical hardship. He didn't have anybody to run it while he was running his other deli in Yaphank, which, you know, I just like to put on the record, it's delicious. It was a practical hardship that prevented them from maintaining the deli in the interim years between 2010 and now. And I'd like to turn it over to
Okay, before you turn it over, and I just want to say this, that some of the members had some concerns and questions that they had asked that the applicant provide certain information. Specifically, Frank, I know you had asked for certain things.
There was a lease, and then also the ag and markets,
Well, I gave you the ag and market.
yeah.
PSE&G doesn't go back any further than 2 years? 2 years. So they couldn't get any information there. And unfortunately, with moving back and forth and other issues, they weren't able to locate any of their leases.
So you as the representative, are you representing that the deli was open in 2010?
It was confirmed closed in 2010 by.
And it
the
operated
second-
up to 2010?
Was it? Yes, there was somebody in it.
Okay, are these dates matching with what you heard, Frank?
A lot of the stuff we discussed already. The new item here is the proposal from RJC Construction
Yes,
that I'm looking at now.
yes, Mr. Stakler
This just came in tonight?
Yes.
Are they here by any chance?
The contractor?
Yeah.
No.
So, rip, he's listing the description of rip-off and removal, I assume that's demolition.
Yes.
$70,000 to remove walls, flooring, ceiling, electrical, and plumbing.
Yeah.
Approximately how many square feet is this, building?
I believe we do have that in the file already.
Not the year that they're probably gonna demolish, they're probably do that, is I guess. I don't know if there's any
What do you got?
plans.
We don't have any plans on that.
Well, they're just
They
trying to
think
show
it's
you
about
what the
1,900,
hardship would be.
Sorry?
about 1,900 square feet?
And that includes the accessory apartment in the rear?
No,
Just the front part?
yes.
I don't think it's that big, but anyway.
Let me pull out a survey. Let me pull out the survey.
At the moment.
What's that?
I don't know if that's relevant.
$286,000, proposal here
I
from.
think
The
this
front
board,
section is 45 by 31, approximately, give or take.
all right. So, I think the board wants to look at all of the minutes that we've had
Okay.
and think about if we can or we cannot grant you the pre-existing non-conforming use to go back to deli. With that, that would require some research.
So
Do you
just to
have
give,
anything else to submit to this board?
Yes, Mr.
So,
Staples.
does he want to speak?
Yes, you both want to speak, right? Yeah, they both want to speak.
Okay.
Good evening.
He has been sworn in prior testimony. Yes. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I made myself a few notes so I don't miss
Okay.
anything that I want to say. So my wife and I, we owned that building for 30 years. And I invested about $300,000 altogether in that building with buying it and fixing things and what have you. I paid commercial tax on the building for the last 30 years. And well, my kids and everybody grew up in the neighborhood. I lived in the neighborhood for 30 years and right next door 2 houses down from the deli. I never abandoned the deli, I always kept it up. The deli is totally turnkey, everything is in there, from soup to nuts. And well, as we said before, the deli's been there since the 1920s. It's kind of a fixture in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
A lot of times when I go through the streets, I walk a lot, and I go to the supermarket. My old customers, they all come up to you when you're gonna reopen the place. They all miss it, because we ran a good deli. I mean, I ran a deli over here in Riverhead, at Heroes Plus for some years. And I rented the deli out to Mr. Brenner for about 13 years after I left Wading River to come to Heroes Plus here. And after that, after he retired, I rented it out to Mr. Velli, I think his name was. He lasted a little more than a year. And then after that, I rented out to another guy, and he was a total disaster. He got locked up for beating his wife, so.
Okay.
So my wife and I decided
That's not
not
a
to
good
rent
thing.
that deli anymore
Okay.
until we return. And I'm committed to Yaphank Deli until May 1st. And then I'll be available to open.
Let's say the zoning board gave you back the use, which I'm not saying we are not.
Right. Well,
Do you
see,
intend to lease it to someone else? Do you intend to run it yourself?
no, I'm gonna run it myself, me and my son
Okay.
and my wife.
I was just curious.
And I did not know that there is an ordinance that you cannot reopen a deli after it's closed 1 year. As a matter of fact, the deli I opened in Yaphank was closed for 9 years, and Brookhaven did not give me a problem to open that deli.
Did you have to go back for a variance,
I'm sorry?
or was it a permitted use?
It used to be a deli before that, and the guy
No, I
was...
understand, but was the area zoned a deli before and after?
Yes,
They changed the zoning?
yes, it was always deli.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, so that's the difference here.
Yeah. Well, as Mr., I think it's, the building inspector, I think it's Mark Hammond, I think his name.
Brad had.
Brad. And he gave me, my occupancy for the apartment in the back where my son lives.
Right,
And he told me that, and he looked also at the deli building, and he even said to me, what else you gonna do with this building, you know? And he also mentioned to me that I should have received something in the mail as to let me know that after 1 year, I cannot come back. Because I would have not done that otherwise. You know, I don't invest $300,000 and let it go to waste. So, and as I said, I kept the building up. I put a new roof, and the only thing it needs is a parking lot, and I'm waiting to see what's gonna happen.
okay.
And, well,
What's, just out of curiosity, do you know the value of the property now, sir?
excuse me?
The value of the property on the market if you were to sell it?
Right now,
Yeah,
I would say it's probably worth, without the deli in it, probably 200.
200?
I would
Like
think
low
so.
200s?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure, but I think that's about it.
So you're saying the current value of the structure is about 200,000?
Well, and the property included.
And the so I'm saying included property and structure is about
Yeah,
200,000?
that would be my guess.
So this RJC Construction says they could renovate for 286,000?
Yeah, what they have to do, they have to rip everything out. They have to rip out I have a walk-in box, I have 2 deli cases, I have soda boxes,
Yeah.
I have grills, I have everything, I have Ansel systems, that's all gotta get ripped out. The roof would have to be repaired from, taking out the roofing fan. It's a lot of work, and then we have to strip it all the way down, and then you need electric, I need a whole new heating system. Well, this is what the man told me, he's a builder.
Okay, well, I can understand you trying to figure out another use if it doesn't go through. So, there was another gentleman here, and he had given testimony, who was the fellow that came on their behalf?
There was another expediter here?
Mr. Weiss? Yes, my partner.
Mr. Weiss, is that your partner?
Yeah.
Okay. I just thought he was gonna tell us something, and I don't have my notes in front of me, but I recall that he
Well,
said he
there
would
was no,
come back.
he was gonna come back with either a lease, a copy of a lease, or,
Lease, that's what we were looking
and the
for.
ag and markets, which said there's nothing, there's no history of that, so they didn't bring any of this. the stuff
Anything
that they
to
said that
compel
they
us
were
to
gonna-
Well, no, I brought in.
You brought in the construction
And I
estimate.
brought in the agriculture this evening. Yeah, we did the agriculture FOIL search, and they don't have any record beyond.
Went out of
7 years.
business
That's the
June
letter I brought.
2008,
Right,
So basically, it's been closed for
10 years.
yeah, so it's been closed for 10 years.
Yeah, could I ask,
'Cause
what is the difference between how long it's closed? Is that some, I mean, you seem to have a big problem
Well,
with that.
It's a
One of-
non-conforming use.
one of the problems we had, when we had the hearings, and there were different speakers, they were giving us different dates. We wanted to make sure that we had evidence for the record,
Yeah,
that the dates it closed was accurate, not
Yeah.
inaccurate based on assumption or whatever else they got their information from, so.
right,
that
I mean,
really
they
was
had
our
to wait,
problem at the
they
time.
had to wait for confirmation from the health department to
Right.
get the exact
And I
date.
think there was a health department inspection, when was that?
2010,
2010.
yeah.
So it closed in 8, but yet the health department came and did an inspection in 10, and it determined,
And the health department said that it was closed.
There was, yeah, I think, I'm not, I think the one guy used the Department of Agriculture. If you, the thing is, if you sell 50% groceries and 50% deli, you can get a Department of Agriculture health license. If you sell more than 50% deli, you need a Suffolk County
I see, okay.
Health
And
Department
I would assume
permit.
you would have to get your liquor license as well, at some point.
Yeah,
Okay.
I had a beer license in the very beginning.
I think this board's had enough information to move forward on a decision, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna we're gonna do a reserve decision, and we're going to try to figure out, based on the minutes and the facts from the last 2 or 3 meetings that we've held, and we're gonna give a written decision, and that will be filed in the town clerk's office and read at the next meeting on March 22nd, unless you have other things that may be in the way to prevent you from getting it done that quickly? Okay, so,
I just wanna make one little point.
what's that?
I just wanna make one point.
Yes, go ahead.
So it's not that the board has a problem with a year, that's what the code says. The law, the town code says that any use that's no longer conforming to the zoning, if it's closed for a year or abandoned for a year, it can't reopen, that's why you're here.
Right.
So it's not this board having any particular problem.
No, I'm just,
But what happens is that zoning changes, and the objective of the zoning is to eliminate the non-conforming
Common,
uses and
yeah.
make everything conform. So if they don't, so that's all, the code is designed to do that,
right.
and that's why you're here. It's not them having any
No,
problem
I'm
with anything.
not blaming them.
Okay, just wanna make
I'm
that
just
clear.
wondering
The record.
why that seemed to be such a big issue.
Well, the 1 year is the
I
time frame.
understand
that's
that,
in
but
the
I mean,
code.
the 1 year or 5 years or 6
Well,
years.
we
and
were
it-
trying
it
just to
just shows
establish.
exactly how
Okay.
long it's been
When.
empty,
Right,
so.
Some people said 10, some said 215, 213. There were different conflicting dates, and again, I wanted the record to be clear as to when you actually closed, based on what's been submitted by you and your representatives. So, I think we can move forward, and we're gonna do a reserve decision, if that's okay. And, I'd like to have a motion.
can my son say a couple of words?
Would you like to speak on it? I apologize. You gonna speak? Please. Have you been sworn in before?
Thank you.
Okay. I swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God.
I swear to tell the whole truth, so help me God.
Thank you.
How you doing tonight?
State your
first of
name and address, please.
all? My name's Dennis Steckler. I live at 2873 North Wading River Road, Wading River.
Okay.
All right. Just a couple things I'd like to add. I've been living in Wading River since 1988. Went to Riverhead High School, class of '93, go Blue Waves. And started working for my parents at Wildwood Deli in 1989 as a bottle boy, stocking shelves, things like that. All through my high school years, and then again late 90s to about 2003, where I got to know a lot of people in my community very, very well. And nowadays, when I see those same people, when I'm out and about in the town, usually the first thing they ask me is, when are you guys gonna reopen that deli? We miss you guys so much, you know? They miss our food and just us in general, and I always tell them, well, the plan is soon. It's always been our family's plan to reopen it soon. My parents are getting close to retirement. Their plan was always in their last working years that they would help me to reopen Wildwood Deli, for me to take over, sort of like a, full circle kind of deal. And when they do retire, it would be very difficult for me alone to run a deli such as Yaphank Deli, where we are now, due to how busy it is and how much help it requires, and good help, and it's getting harder to find in our business. Whereas in Wildwood Deli, I already have people from the community asking me if I could get them a job, or some of them have sons and daughters now that are of age that are looking for their first job. And these are people I know for 30 years, people I trust, and 5 of my closest friends in life that I grew up with still live in Wading River. We're very tight and always looking out for each other. One of them's here tonight. And they also have children now, since we're getting older, and they're also looking for some sort of employment, and, I always say I'd love to help them out locally, It's a chance for me to give back to the community, which is important for me. And whether it be a summer job for a local kid, or just making meals for people who don't have time to cook because they work so much, because that's the thing we do, we pride ourselves on that. Like I said, it's my community, I want to give back. And if we're not allowed to open, I'd be forced to find another location and start all over again in a place where I really don't know anyone in the community and not own the building, and et cetera. And being that my parents live 200 feet away from the deli and I live right behind it, think of all the gas money it would save me. But a real quick story, just to end this. The other day I was talking to a friend in the neighborhood, an acquaintance, and I told him that we were trying to get the deli reopened, and he was pretty excited to hear about it, and he told me that he has these vivid memories of going there as a child, buying baseball cards and sodas and snacks before him and his buddies would walk down to the beach, or take a bike ride down to Bayberry Park or such and such, and how cool it would be for his children to be able to do the same thing. And to me, it really struck me, that that's something that really matters, And I would be grateful to give back to the community, to create new memories, and I hope you would consider giving me the chance to give back to this great neighborhood. And with that, I just in the last week or so, I just got over a bad bout with that flu that was going around. So since the last time you guys met, I wanted to make it my business to get some signatures. And I could only do it for about the last week or so. I got 30 somewhat signatures here, but I assure you, if I had more time, I could get hundreds, because we're really a part of the neighborhood, and people would really love to see us there. I just wanted to let you guys know that, because it's not that we're just trying to lease it to someone else or whatever. It's a family deal, and we would be grateful to help our community out again.
Okay, well, that was very nice.
All right.
Did you submit those signatures to the clerk, please?
Sure thing.
Thank you. If anybody, other interested parties would like to speak tonight on this matter? Okay. If you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God.
I swear.
Thank you. And your name and address, please.
My name's Thomas Reardon. I live at 843 Wolf Lane Road, probably about 200 yards away from the deli. I was basically born and raised in Wading River since '76. I guess I could say that's almost a piece of history there. When I was a kid, my dog used to tow me in a wagon there, down the main road and everything, to the deli. We get the morning paper for my dad and stuff. And there's a huge amount of people in the numbered streets, Loon Hills, some of even the beach community down over by the Big Rock Beach there, that would love to see the deli come back, because the food is really good, and it's run by great people. I would just hope to see it opened again. That's really all I have to say.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate appreciate your time. Okay, may I have a motion for reserved decision, please?
I move that appeal number 17-065 have a reserved decision for the next meeting on March 22nd, 2018.
Second.
Mr. Seabrook?
Aye.
Ms. Worthington?
Aye.
And I vote aye. So that resolution is passed. Are there any other things that we need to discuss tonight other than accepting the minutes for the last public hearing? Motion? To
Motion to accept
minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I move to accept the minutes from the last meeting.
Second.
Mr. Seabrook?
Aye.
And I vote aye. I would like to make a motion, or you make the motion for me, excuse me.
To adjourn?
To adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adjourn this meeting tonight.
Second.
Mr. Seabrook?
Aye.
Ms.
Aye.
Worthington? And I vote aye. Thank you for all coming tonight. Have a good evening.